Have you ever felt a pull towards someone you absolutely knew was wrong for you? Not just wrong, but completely off limits? Someone woven into the very fabric of your family? Someone you should never, ever look at that way? It happens, more often than we admit. It happened to me, and it started with him just being my son's friend from college, always around, always welcome. But that comfortable familiarity, it twisted into something dark, something secret, something that threatened to shatter everything I held sacred. This is the story of how my son's friend became my forbidden desire, and the secret that almost destroyed my life. Life with Mark was predictable, in the best way, for a long time. 20 years of marriage, a solid foundation, built brick by brick on shared memories, quiet evenings, and a comfortable, reliable routine. We had our life down to a science in a way. We knew each other's rhythms, anticipated each other's needs, navigated life together with a quiet, unspoken understanding. Our son, Josh, was the center of our world for so long. And now, he was off at college, starting his junior year, carving out his own path. It was a good thing, a natural thing, the way life was supposed to be. But with Josh gone, the house felt different. Quieter, definitely. Emptier in a way I hadn't quite anticipated. Mark and I, we were still us, still comfortable, still solid. But there was this new space, a quiet hum of routine that stretched out day after day, week after week, feeling almost too predictable. And then there was Liam. Liam had been Josh's best friend since freshman year of college. He was always around, always welcome. Holidays, winter breaks, summer vacations, sometimes just random weekends when he and Josh would road trip home. Liam was just a fixture, like another piece of furniture in our living room, in the warmest, most welcome way possible. He was a genuinely good kid, polite, respectful, always ready to lend a hand with anything. We enjoyed having him around. He was bright, funny, engaging, and it was always reassuring to see Josh surrounded by such a good influence. Liam was just Liam, Josh's friend. That's how we thought of him. That's how it always was. That's how it always should have been. But then things started changing, subtly at first, almost imperceptibly. Liam started coming around more often, even when Josh wasn't home. At first, it was always with a perfectly reasonable excuse. He needed to borrow Mark's tools for a project he was working on in his dorm, or he needed help with his car and Mark was always so handy, or he was just in the neighborhood and thought he'd pop in to say hi. Perfectly innocent, perfectly normal, except it started happening more and more, and those casual pop-ins started stretching longer. The conversation started to shift too. We'd still talk about Josh, about college, about the usual things. But then we'd drift into other topics, old movies, classic rock, books we'd read, things that Mark just wasn't interested in. Liam and I, we discovered we actually had things in common, surprising things I hadn't realized I was missing in my everyday life. And he started confiding in me too, not just about college stuff, but real things. His anxieties about his future, his uncertainties about his path, his worries about his family back home. He'd open up to me in a way Josh never did, in a way Mark hadn't in years, and I found myself opening up back to him, sharing my own quiet frustrations, the feeling that my life was just on repeat, the unspoken sense of distance that had grown between Mark and me, like we were living parallel lives under the same roof. He listened, really listened, and he seemed to understand. He'd nod, ask questions, offer thoughtful responses. It was comforting, and also a little unsettling, because with each conversation, with each shared laugh, with each moment of unexpected connection, I started seeing him differently, not just as Josh's friend Liam anymore, but as Liam, a person, a young man with his own thoughts, his own feelings, his own vulnerabilities. And that shift, that subtle change in perspective, that's when things started to get complicated. And then there was this moment, just a completely ordinary moment, really. Liam was over for dinner, helping Mark with some yard work beforehand. I was in the kitchen, getting things ready, and Liam came in for a glass of water. He was sweaty, his hair a little messy, and he smiled at me, this easy, genuine smile. And in that moment, just looking at him, at the way the sunlight caught the lines around his eyes when he smiled, it hit me, like a jolt of pure, raw electricity. I was attracted to Liam, attracted to my son's best friend. The realization was like a slap in the face. Disgusting, wrong, completely, utterly forbidden. My stomach dropped and a wave of shame washed over me. How could I even think that? About him? I immediately recoiled, both physically and emotionally. Tried to push the thought away, bury it deep down, pretend it never happened. Just a crazy fleeting moment of what? Hormonal imbalance? Midlife crisis? Whatever it was wrong. And I tried to forget it. But you can't unsee something once you've seen it, can you? That feeling, that forbidden spark. It was there now, simmering beneath the surface. And once I acknowledged it, even just to myself, it became impossible to ignore. Every time Liam was around, I felt this awareness, this heightened sense of him. Stolen glances across the dinner table, a lingering touch as he handed me something, hushed conversations in the kitchen when Mark was out of the room. It was all incredibly subtle, incredibly dangerous. The guilt was a constant companion, a heavy weight pressing down on me, reminding me of the line I was even thinking about crossing. But the pull, the forbidden thrill of it, was also intoxicating, like a secret, dangerous drug. And Liam? I started to sense he felt it too. That unspoken tension, that electric current that seemed to crackle between us whenever we were close. A shared glance that lingered a beat too long. A hesitant pause in conversation, filled with unspoken words. It was a dangerous dance, a silent language of desire and denial. And then, one evening, it all just broke. He was over for dinner, Josh was away at school, Mark had a late meeting, just the two of us, in the quiet of the evening. We were talking in the kitchen, laughing, sharing a bottle of wine Mark had left open, and the unspoken tension, the forbidden desire that had been building between us for weeks, it just erupted. 1 minute we were talking, laughing, our faces close, and then he reached out and touched my hand. Just a light touch, but it sent a shockwave through me. And then he leaned in and kissed me, right there in my kitchen. And in that moment, all the walls I'd built, all the rules I'd lived by, all the shoulds and shouldn'ts, they all just crumbled. And we crossed the line, stepped into a secret forbidden world, with no idea of the living with the secret after that first kiss, after that first night. It was like living with a bomb ticking inside me. Every day was a tightrope walk, every interaction a carefully choreographed dance of deception. Liam and I, we became experts in stolen moments, hushed whispers, coded texts. But the fear was always there, a constant gnawing presence. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart would leap into my throat, terrified it would be Mark, noticing something was off, asking questions I couldn't answer. Every time Liam came over, even for something innocent, I'd be on edge, watching Mark's every move, praying he wouldn't sense the tension, the unspoken truth hanging in the air between us. We had close calls, so many close calls. Mark almost walked in on us in the kitchen late one night when Liam had stayed to help with the dishes. Josh called unexpectedly when Liam was over, and I had to practically shove Liam out the back door to avoid them being seen together. It was exhausting, paralyzing. I was living in a constant state of anxiety, waiting for the inevitable explosion. And then, it happened, just like that. One ordinary Tuesday evening. Mark and I were in the living room, supposedly relaxing, but I was just a bundle of nerves, constantly checking my phone, jumping at every sound. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, a text message from Liam. Just a simple, stupid message saying, "Thinking of you," careless, reckless, and utterly damning. Mark glanced down at my phone, just casually, and picked it up to hand it to me. And that's when he saw it. Liam's name flashing across the screen. The message preview right there for anyone to see. The color drained from Mark's face. His eyes narrowed, his jaw tightened. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at the phone, then stared at me. The silence in the room became thick, suffocating. Then, his voice, when it finally came, was low, dangerous, a voice I'd never heard him use before. Who is Liam? It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. And in that moment, I knew it was over. The secret was out. The bomb had detonated, and the fallout, it was immediate, devastating, irreversible. The aftermath, it was like a bomb had gone off in our lives, leaving nothing but wreckage and scorched earth. Mark's reaction, I don't even have words to describe it. Rage, yes, a white-hot fury I'd never seen in him before. He yelled, he screamed, he paced around the house like a caged animal. Accusations flew, questions ripped from him like shards of glass. But beneath the anger, the thing that cut me deepest was the hurt, the raw, wounded look in his eyes, the sheer disbelief that I, his wife, the woman he trusted, could betray him like this. And then the anger would just collapse into this cold, empty silence. He'd just shut down, withdraw completely, like I'd become invisible to him. Our house, our home, became a battleground, then a wasteland. Sleep was impossible. I'd lie awake for hours, replaying the confrontation, the confession, the devastation on Mark's face, the shame eating away at me from the inside out. Our marriage, it was shattered, broken into a million pieces that I didn't know how to even begin to pick up. The trust, the foundation we'd built over 20 years, gone, just gone. And Josh, that was the worst part. The thought of him finding out, of him knowing what I'd done, it was unbearable. He idolized Liam, thought of him like a brother. And I had betrayed them both. The potential damage to my relationship with my son, the pain and confusion he would feel, it haunted my every waking moment. Liam, he just disappeared, vanished from our lives as quickly as he'd entered. I haven't seen him, haven't heard from him since that night. He just left, leaving me to face the wreckage alone. Looking back now, through the fog of pain and regret, I can see how easily I let things spiral out of control. How a simple connection, a friendly familiarity, twisted into something dangerous, something forbidden. I was looking for something in Liam, something I felt was missing in my marriage. Excitement, attention, a feeling of being desired. But I chose the most reckless, most destructive path imaginable to find it. And the cost was immense. My marriage is hanging by a thread. My family is fractured, possibly beyond repair. And the secret, the forbidden love I chased, it left behind nothing but ashes. The lesson I've learned, carved into my soul by the consequences of my choices, is that some lines are there for a reason. Some boundaries are not meant to be crossed. And some desires, no matter how powerful, are best left unfulfilled before they consume everything you hold dear. Forbidden love. It's a powerful, dangerous illusion. It whispers promises of excitement, of connection, of something more than your everyday life. But secrets always have a way of surfacing. Boundaries, when crossed, leave scars that may never heal. My story is a painful lesson in the devastating truth. Sometimes, the most tempting desires are the very ones that will destroy you and everything you hold most precious. And some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to turn on post notifications to be among the first to watch our videos. See you in the next video.